Turkey's defense landscape is entering a dramatic new chapter. According to emerging reports, Ankara is now prepared to give up its Russian-made S-400 air defense system in hopes of rejoining the American-led F-35 stealth fighter program, a program that Turkey was deeply invested in until 2019. Turkey had already spent billions, had trained pilots, and even produced nearly 900 components for the F-35 supply chain before the US expelled it for purchasing the S-400. Today, nearly 6 years after that expulsion, Ankara is facing a long-term capability gap in its air force, with its aging F-16 fleet struggling to meet modern requirements. This desperation to return to the F-35 ecosystem is what now pushes Turkey towards sacrificing the S-400s, a move that marks a major geopolitical realignment. However, the fate of these S-400 systems has now become one of the most sensitive questions in global defense politics. Washington is almost certain to block Turkey from returning the missiles directly to Russia. Doing so would be viewed as a sanctions violation under the Kutsa legislation, and it would hand Moscow a symbolic propaganda victory by proving that US pressure forced a NATO ally to reverse its defense purchase. The US cannot afford such optics, especially as it continues to pressure multiple countries, India included, over major Russian defense imports. For Washington, allowing the S-400 to return to Russia is not just unacceptable, it's strategically disastrous. What the US may prefer instead is for Turkey to transfer full custody of the S-400 batteries to American hands under the label of research and evaluation. For US defense scientists and radar specialists, gaining access to an operational S-400 unit is an intelligence goldmine. The S-400's 92N6E multifunction radar, its 48N6 and 40N6 missile family, its long-range tracking algorithms, and its electronic signature data would provide Washington with insights that it has been trying to obtain for more than a decade. This would greatly improve US ability to counter Russian-made air defense systems deployed in regions like Syria, Crimea, Iran, and even China. From missile decoys to stealth optimization, the intelligence value of studying the S-400 is enormous for both the US Air Force and NATO. A second potential option is a transfer to a neutral third country, one that does not directly strengthen Russia's operational know-how and does not violate US sanctions. And this is where speculation around India briefly enters the picture. India has already ordered 5 S-400 regiments under a $5.43 billion deal, with 3 regiments fully deployed covering Pakistan and China-facing sectors. However, when experts analyze the possibility of India accepting Turkey's S-400s, the answer becomes increasingly unrealistic. India's S-400s are believed to be among the most advanced export configurations Russia has ever delivered. Almost identical to the versions used by Russian aerospace forces. Turkey's systems, on the other hand, were reportedly downgraded, with critical radar parameters altered to prevent NATO from accessing sensitive Russian codes. New Delhi has absolutely no reason to acquire an inferior version of a system that it already operates at a higher tier. Moreover, the logistical cost of integrating Turkey's S-400 batteries into India's existing command and control network would be high, messy, and strategically unnecessary. India has deliberately insulated its long-standing defense relationship with Russia from America-related geopolitical confrontations. Accepting Turkish S-400s, especially under a US-brokered deal, could raise concerns in Moscow regarding India's reliability as a defense partner. Moscow has so far stood firmly by India, even during Western pressure campaigns, ensuring timely delivery of S-400 units and offering upgrades and long-term maintenance support. Russia also has no incentive to recommend India as a recipient. If India were to receive Turkey's downgraded S-400 variant, it would publicly expose Russian export inconsistencies and highlight differences in quality delivered to various countries. That would undermine Russia's global market credibility at a time when it is aggressively pushing new platforms like the S-500 Prometey, Su-57E, and next-gen air defense systems to multiple countries. Any revelation that Turkey received a significantly weaker S-400 would weaken Moscow's bargaining power for future contracts. There are also broader regional implications. Turkey giving up the S-400 under US pressure would send a strong political message to nations considering Russian air defense systems, suggesting that buying them could result in long-term complications with Washington. For countries like Egypt, Algeria, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia, each of which has expressed varying levels of interest in Russian systems, Turkey's reversal could serve as a cautionary example. Meanwhile, Russia's silence indicates its dissatisfaction, as the S-400 deal with Turkey was supposed to be a symbolic breakthrough, the first time a NATO country bought such an advanced Russian air defense system. Ultimately, Turkey's S-400 batteries have now transformed into a high-stakes bargaining chip in a strategic triangle involving Ankara, Washington, and Moscow. As Turkey tries to re-enter the F-35 program to modernize its air force, the consequences of its 2019 decision continue to ripple across global defense politics. India, for its part, watches the drama unfold from the sidelines, confident that its own S-400 capability is superior to what Turkey received, and comfortable maintaining its independent strategic posture without getting entangled in this geopolitical tug-of-war.